Round one is officially in the books, so now we take a look to round two. Mike O'Donnell is working overtime. We're having him crank out a round two mock before this evening, and here's how he sees it going down. We have former Duke standout Kyle Filipowski going to the Raptors. My favorite name of the draft. We have Johnny Furphy heading to Milwaukee, and Jamal Shed taking his talent to New York.
Back here on HQ, and we have Tim Doyle and Mike O'Donnell.
What cooled off a little bit yet?
What are we doing?
I know you've been working so hard on that draft.
I just can't even tell you, my comfort level right now is -0.
Tim was getting out of his seat. I'm like, what's going on? This is not scripted in the show. We're going to go through your draft, your mock draft, I should say.
There.
I'm dialed in. I'm dialed in.
Yeah, dialed in. We're going to talk about Filipowski. We already talked about him and how Tatum was really high on Filipowski, someone who led Duke in scoring over the last 2 seasons. You have him going number 31 to Toronto. There's a lot of buzz around Zach Edey potentially going there, being from Canada. But what do you like about this fit?
Basic thought process is he's the best available player in the second round. And there aren't many 7-footers that can do what Flip does at that level. And so when you get a guy like that in the second round, it's a steal. First pick of the second round, you have to go Kyle Filipowski. 7-footer, shoots over 35% from 3, average 16 a game. The Raptors do need some rebounding help. He gets over 9 boards a game, willing passer. It's just too easy of a pick for Toronto not to make to draft Kyle Filipowski. I just think when you're a willing passer and you shoot like that from 3, sophomore, 7-footer from Duke, book it. It's going to happen.
I think he's a 10-plus year pro. I
agree.
Like the comparison I gave was Brad Miller. Brad Miller made an all-star team. Brad Miller made a Team USA team. And I think that this guy, because we've seen so much tape on him, and yes, is he going to be, you know, an impact 20-point-a-game scorer right away? Absolutely not. But I think he could certainly be a serviceable center and may even peak to be a Brad Miller type player. I think worst comes to worst, he's a Frank Kaminsky, and Frank made a lot of money. He played a long time in the NBA. Whoever gets this guy is automatically going to get a pro. He's got a high basketball IQ. He's got the body. He's not like super sexy, but there's Brad Miller there. Now, Brad Miller's like gone off the deep end. He's got like the long hair, like doesn't wear shoes anymore, but he was awesome at Sacramento. Mike, do you remember him?
Yes, I remember him playing at Sacramento. I don't know what he's doing now, though.
Yeah, he's completely like gone off the deep end, and I love him for that. He's rich. He had an awesome NBA career. He was physical, but more importantly, the guy knew how to play. So whoever gets Filipowski is getting a huge steal.
High IQ player, yeah, really skilled.
All right, next up we have the former Kansas star and Johnny Furphy, 6'9", 202 pounds. Where do you see him going in that second round, Mike?
He's going to go to the Bucks. He's a floor spacer. And when you have a player like Giannis and you got Lillard, I mean, those two guys, ball-dominant players, they're all-stars, they're superstars. Furphy doesn't need the ball to have an immediate impact on your team. He's very athletic, high IQ, can shoot the 3, and he was Bill Self's favorite player on that Kansas roster last season. And when you put Furphy next to those two guys, he's going to come off the bench in Milwaukee. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up getting some starting minutes, maybe halfway through the season, because he doesn't do anything elite, Tim. He just does everything well.
Yeah, I mean, he came on late at Kansas. He's got a huge upside. He's really long. He's rangy. I think he's got a long way to go, but this is the NBA draft, right? Could he be an effective player in 4 or 5 years? Heck yes. Could he be an NBA starter in 4 or 5 years? Heck yes. But right now, I think he shaves once a month. Mike, did you shave before the show? Because I know you shaved yesterday. I know you're not a 7-day-a-week shaver.
You know my issues with growing a beard. There are serious issues. I can't physically do it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Do you miss, like, would you just have, like, mutton chops? Where doesn't it grow on your face?
I think Johnny Furphy's going to be a really good defender in the league. Yeah, I think his versatility can guard really well.
Look at his face.
Positions.
Look at this thing.
Really can.
You can see the freckles on the. Look how boyish looks he has there.
Like,
very
I thought you
similar
were talking
to
about me.
I didn't know if you were talking about
Yes, look at those lines of the guy.
Furphy has versatility with his hair and on the defensive floor. He's going to get playing time at the next level.
And I love his little chocolate chips on his face, too. They're beautiful.
The combo of the two of you, I just never experienced anything like this
Tim's
before.
really fixated on the hairstyles that we're seeing in the draft.
Facial hair there. He doesn't grow any, which means he's got a ways to mature.
Really glad I wore an undershirt today.
Tim is really fixated on style and aesthetics, but there is a lot of intrigue around the Spurs.
Yes, thank you.
You said it.
How are you going to transition to the Spurs now?
There's a lot of intrigue around what they're going to do, how they're going to build around this generational talent in Victor Wembanyama. Stephon Castle going there, which is really fun to think about. But Mike, what do you see them doing in round 2 to continue to build around Wemby?
I kind of made this pick with Kolek going to the Spurs. Outside the fact that he's the best passer in college basketball, Trey Jones just may not be with the Spurs this season or next season with an expiring contract. We don't know what the Spurs are going to do. I'm going to make the assumption that the Spurs are going to move on from Trey Jones. And obviously they have Stephon Castle. But what Tyler Kolek brings, whether they play him with Castle or not, is he is a legitimate three-point threat. And you need someone to space the floor with Wemby. I just think my head went crazy last night thinking about the fact that in pick and roll, pick and pop, and in transition, you've got Steph Castle and Tyler Kolek throwing ahead, throwing lobs to Wemby. That would be too enticing of a situation to not draft Tyler Kolek if he falls down to that level in the second round of the Spurs.
I have my concerns about Tyler Kolek. I love his basketball IQ, and I think he could be like an 8 to 10 year player, a backup point guard. You were really high on him. You thought he was going to be a first-round pick. He wasn't. He lacks explosiveness, but he makes other guys better on the floor. But I got to ask you, Mike, have you ever spent any time in Rhode Island in the early 2000s?
No, actually, I haven't, Tim.
Because if you did, you might have some questions to answer. This guy, if you go side by side, you and him, Mike, I don't know if you were ever up there. Maybe you had a late night out in Warwick or somewhere, but you see what Kolek has done. Assist. He makes other guys better on the floor. This guy's he could be learning a foreign language in 3 years and playing in Europe and having a great European career. I am not super high on him. I think that he is not the elite level athlete. When you play point guard in the NBA, you have to be like on a they're going to go at you defensively. Like this guy's going to have to guard John Morant, and he's going to have to go by guys like that. I'm rooting for him because he really knows how to play. But I have 2 words: Rosetta Stone. I think he's going to have to learn a language, and he's going to be playing somewhere in Europe.
All right, Mike, you are really high on this next guy. We're talking about guys that you are fans of in this draft. Potentially the toughest player in the draft, plays with a lot of heart, and that's Jamal Shead. You see him with the Knicks.
Don't think there's a better culture fit for the Knicks in the second round than Jamal Shead. Shead is 94 feet of toughness and heart, period. And he fits perfectly with Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks culture, their physicality, their aggressiveness, the way they play defensively. A perfect backup point guard to Jalen Brunson. Three-point shot needs to improve. He's only 6'1", so there's some height concerns, but he makes up for it with speed, tenacity, and toughness. And that's the fact that I think he has one of the more underrated point guard IQs in all of college basketball. He was Big 12 Player of the Year, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, National Defensive Player of the Year. This is a steal for the Knicks if they can get him at this level. I could not think of a better culture fit than a Houston basketball point guard who won National Defensive Player of the Year, backing up Jalen Brunson and playing for the New York Knicks.
I love everything you said there. There's really not much for me to add. The only thing that worries me is he's a bit undersized, but Miles McBride has really carved out a niche there. I think his ball handling must improve. He's got great.
Jamal Shead's ball handling has to improve?
To create a lot of space, because when you're that small and a 6'7" guy is guarding you, yeah, you're going to have to be able to shoot backing up.
I feel like you need to go back and watch film with Jamal Shead. That's what I feel like you need to do. Positively. Agree to disagree?
I think he's too short. I think he'll play in the NBA 3 to 5 years, and he'll make a lot of money in those 3 to 5 years to an average person. But I think that when you're a 6'1", point guard or shooting guard?
Point guard. Yeah, three-point shot has to improve.
Thank you.
Yeah, he does. Hey, okay, let's just
How many years does he play in the NBA?
Jamal Shead was #1 in the nation in late clock scoring efficiency. So whether shot clock or game clock, 4 seconds or less, he was #1 in the country in scoring. He has a clutch gene, his ability to make shots, make plays when his team needs it the most. He is the perfect backup point guard for the New York Knicks and a very good handle. Please, nobody listen to that aspect of the breakdown.
I think
that
he's
is wild.
I think he's going to end up in the G League, and I think with the Knicks trying to win right now, he will maybe be the last player on the bench. I don't think he's going to have an impact on next year's season if they're really competing for an NBA championship. I didn't say he's not going to play in the NBA. I have my doubts about him.
I'm about to say the most aggressive thing I've ever said on air. Agree to disagree.
I feel like
that you being? Is that you being?
That's me being extremely aggressive. Yeah, agree to disagree.
All right, let's put a bow on this, and we're talking about the Trailblazers because big man Donovan Clingan didn't go within the top 5, went top 7. I know, had to remind you of that. But they have Scoot Henderson, that is their first-round pick from last year, and you have 2 guys, Ingram and A.J. Mitchell, that you see fitting in the second round.
Yeah, I like both these guys. So first of all, Harrison Ingram adds a ton of versatility defensively for the Trailblazers. He led the ACC at North Carolina in rebounding, and you're talking about a guy that you can offensively just not have to worry about. He has a low turnover percentage, and he's very good three-point shooter, close to 40% from 3. You could put him in pick and pop. You can have him make plays off the dribble. Perfect guy to come off the bench. And the Trailblazers backcourt is very talented and very young, but they logged a ton of minutes, and they need some backup help too. I think that's where A.J. Mitchell from UC Santa Barbara comes into play. 6'5", 6'6", lefty big point guard. A lot of Goran Dragic in his game, a little bit of Manu Ginobili in his game, elite playmaker. He's been on the NBA radar for the last 2 years because of his pace, understanding, in pick-and-roll action, averaged 20 points a game, over 35% from 3. That'd be a great backup point guard to get in the second round for Portland.
I think you're getting in the weeds here, and I really respect that.
Love the weeds.
Yeah, you are deep in the weeds. When you're bringing out Santa Barbara players, I remember the Santa Barbara head coach called me, and he goes, "You could major in bathing suits here." I was like 18 years old. I go, "Huh?" He goes, "Hey, you just come out here." And I didn't take a visit. One of my biggest regrets, Mike, in my entire life, I did not visit Santa Barbara. How was your visit at Holy Cross?
Wouldn't be able to guess that.
How was your visit at Holy Cross?
Too cold. Too much ice.
Too much ice, yeah.
Yeah, too cold.
Portland's a disaster. There's no other way to say it. I mean, they're going to win 27 games. Simons, Scoot Henderson, there's something there, but culture, they don't know who they are. They're going to have to hit a home run. Some of these second-round picks, not just Filipowski, who we both believe is going to be a guy who plays in the league 10 years, someone's going to pop. We're going to look back 8 to 10 years from now and be like, oh, that dude ended up being really good. Every draft has that. Even though this draft wasn't so sexy, top to bottom, there are going to be multiple All-Stars. I think there's going to be 3 different All-Stars. How many All-Stars do you think there's going to be from this draft?
From this draft, 5.
So, like, someone's going to pan out. We just don't know who. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tim Doyle, Mike O'Donnell, Jacqueline, I don't know if you feel the same, but I would say that's the most interesting start of the show I've ever had here at CBS Sports HQ.
Sorry, America.
Great job.
I really tried to hold it together and bring it back.
We appreciate you, Mike. You did a great job. Tim, always making us laugh. You can catch these 2 later on today on the clock. It's our NBA draft coverage. Our Tommy Tran is going to try to
Tommy's
wrangle the 2 of you, which is not an easy job. But
good luck, Tommy.
Someone's got to do it.